And as a reminder, this call is being recorded so that we will post it. It usually takes about a week or so to get everything translated over to YouTube. Seems to be the easiest way for everyone to view the record. We did notice in the last recording the sound quality was not the best, so we did try to address that with the web provider, that the sound quality was a little choppy. I think probably still good enough to be useful though. So we'll be doing again recording and getting the information out to all of you in a week or so with a YouTube link to be able to listen and see the presentation. The list of attendees starting to stabilize, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome again to the first Tuesday of the month. West Affiliate Get With The Guidelines Coronary Disease Users Call. This call is designed to be informational from our standpoint, to get information and updates to you, but also interactive, so you can ask questions and so that everyone can hear the questions being asked and the answers to those questions. Because if you have a question, there's likely somebody else does as well. People on the call represent 11 states, the Midwest affiliate that are members of Get With The Guidelines CAD. That you're muting your phone on your end, *6 if you don't have a mute button, go on mute, because we are leaving all lines open in case there are questions during the couple different times. We'll pause for questions or interactions. So, but if we get a lot of background noise, we'll have to go ahead and mute all lines until we have a question and answer period. Katie, I think we'll go through the agenda here quickly, and then I'm going to turn it over to Katie before we do the platform. We're going to go through some important CAD updates that you need to know, especially for this month. Again, we're going to do the live demonstration of our updated new platform. Internally, we call it IRP. If you've been with Get With The Guidelines for any length of time, or if you participate in any of the other modules, you know that we call the platform the PT, Patient Management Tool, and we are upgrading that platform to IRP. So it's kind of like going from Windows P to Windows 10. It's just a new platform, upgraded platform of the same of the system. So we're excited to show you that, and that will be released right now on April 23rd. And Katie will talk a little bit about that transition and what that's going to look like. We'll save some time for questions, and then at the end, if we have additional time, we're going to revisit once again the historic data upload process and fixing your data. And after you've done that, cleaning up the NSTEMI dual antiplatelet therapy and the LV function, those two NSTEMI issues that we've identified in data transfer. And Katie will run through that again for anybody that may have missed that before or have any questions. Get With The Guidelines CAD hospitals, an update nationally. We have 450 hospitals. That's 20 more than the last call. So we've added an additional 20 since the last time we met in 1 month. You can see a mapping of the hospitals that are participating in Get With The Guidelines CAD across our 11-state affiliate. And we have over 100,000 patient records now, in less than 1 year, or just less than 1 year, because right now, this week marks 1 year since the launch of Get With The Guidelines CAD, or relaunch of Get With The Guidelines CAD technically. So we're excited at the rapid growth of both hospitals participating and the number of patient records that are getting into the registry, which I know for a lot of you is important when we start running comparative data. I think I'll turn it over to you for these next few slides.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. So as Gary said, there's some critical dates that you'll need to know as we work through this transition period, going from what you know as the PMT to our IRP platform. And so the last day that you'll be able to access the CAD patient management tool, as you know it, is April 15th. Here just in a couple weeks. The updated platform will release April 23rd. And you will not have any access to your CAD data or reports at all during what we're calling Dark Week. And so the aim is to have all of your, what I would suggest, what we're really encouraging is to try to have all of your 2017 data uploaded and that cleanup completed prior to April 15th if possible. And if that's not possible, we certainly are going to continue to work with you and try to get that firmed up so that you look as good as you can for this awards consideration. But I just think that we're all a bit more familiar at this point with the current PMT, and we have those processes down, a lot of screenshots and guides to help you with that data in the current management tool. So it'll just be a little beneficial, if it's at all possible, to get done before Dark Week, not to be confused with Shark Week. So very important to know you won't be able to get in at all. If you do need to run any reports or have any concerns, just let your QSI director know and work with you to see how we can make up for that. But it will open up again until April 23rd. And then just one thing to note as well, there is a new extended transport of the MSFC to PCI for this year. So for the 2017 data year, there'll be some consideration that within the standard measure of FMC to PCI, direct admission STEMI is 90 minutes or less. But in a more rural area, they took that into consideration. So new for that, again, that 2017 year, you get up to 120 minutes as the patient meets both of the following criteria. Transport time from the scene departure to hospital arrival is greater than or equal to 45 minutes. So if you have a transport time, it's from the scene departure to greater than or equal to 45 minutes, and your to balloon time is less than or equal to 30 minutes. So both of those criteria must be met. Then your FMC to PC time can be up to 120 minutes instead of 90. However, when you look at your data and you run your reports in the PMT today, they appear as fallouts. When our new platform launches, that measure will apply correctly, and the patient will move to the numerator. So if you have any concerns, you're close on the measure, or you have patients that you know are in farther out areas and do have a transport time of greater than 45 minutes, your CAD director can walk you that on a case-by-case basis and just kind of understand that it will look right. This measure will apply correctly once we do open that new platform. I think that is it. The next thing we're going to move to here is Gary, I guess, walking you through what would be most beneficial, just walking you through a live demo of the platform.
Thanks. I'm going to say just a couple of things on this slide as well, just because of the history of Mission Lifeline for many of you on the call, and I'm looking at some names of folks in the rural states, and this has been an issue I've talked about for many years, and I think this is not a perfect solution. I'm sure that there are some of you on the call that look at this and wonder if we could have come up with something differently. I don't know if there's a perfect solution for these extended transport times, but what this does is give a solution to a lot of the work that we've done for many years, and really encouraging EMS agencies to bypass. A few of my hospitals that I work with directly, I'm thinking of Richard Mulvane on the call, so up in Duluth, and I see Clint on the call over in Rapid City. This is something that in a lot of our rural states that has been an issue. And again, I don't know if this is the perfect fix, but it is an opportunity we've given to fix the issue of long transport times when we have encouraged EMS agencies to do the right thing, go to the little bit further hospital and go to PCI, but if they miss it and the patient makes it at 100 minutes or 110 minutes, everyone is penalized. So the EMS agency is penalized and the hospital is penalized for that fallout when it is good guideline-based care. So just remember that if you're looking at your data now, today, and as Katie said, in the PMT, these will show up as fallouts. If your QSI director, when running, so each of your QSI directors will be running your reports manually and entering the data manually for your 2018 award. If you see that you have fallen out of this measure and look and see several of these that are listed as fallouts. Sorry? You're hearing some background noise. Please make sure you're on mute. Hearing some people talk in amongst themselves. *6 if you do not have a mute button yourself. Anyhow, your QSI director will be running the awards, and if they see fallouts that this measure not calculating within the PMT, within the current platform, they will wait and run your awards after the IRP update. So they'll wait until May to run your awards when this measure will calculate correctly. So as you look at these, if you're seeing fallouts based on this and you think, well, I've got, this one is less than 120 minutes and transport time was more than 45 and door-to-balloon was 25 or 29, then just wait until IRP and those will calculate correctly. One thing I'll just add is why door-to-balloon time in 30 minutes on these. I'm sure that's something that comes up, and the idea is that with long transport time and proper system of care based on the guidelines, based on the levels of evidence, MS agencies should be giving plenty of heads-up time, pre-notification of the STEMI patient, which should drastically decrease door-to-balloon time. So obviously it's a much tighter door-to-balloon time, but there should be plenty of time in 45 minutes of pre-notification to have the cath lab team prepared and be able to get through the ER to cath lab or direct to cath lab within 30 minutes. We've already been running this measure in the PMT and looking at ones that would fall in or fall out, and hospitals are meeting this measure. This will make a difference for hospitals. We can already see it for awards. So wait, if there's any questions on that, feel free to hit your QSI director up or me or Katie directly if you have any questions or comments. If we have time at the end, we'll take questions on this too, but I want to make sure that there's plenty of time to run through the new platform. Let me switch over now. Give me 1 second to pull up our test site. I have not been logged out, but let's just see. So, okay, we can share my screen now. There's Katie, confirm you're seeing the community page.
Looks good.
So as you log in, when you first log in, and at this point we have not, your login should stay the same. So when you log into the updated platform at the end of this month, you'll be welcome to a new community page. You can see that you're a lot of the same words, a lot of the same links to what you're looking at now. They're just kind of in a little bit different place. On this community page, again, this is a test site, so we are operating as in coronary disease as Health South Hospital, and I am operating this as if I were an abstractor in a hospital. This is not the AHA view because we will be seeing direct patient level data when we're running reports, but that is not our view. This is a fictitious hospital view. All patients that we will be looking at here are fictitious and have been entered in by AHA field staff. Once the community page is up and running fully, you'll see dashboards here that will show data that we believe that will be able for you to pick and show right when you log in certain dashboards. So if you want to always display your current door-to-balloon times or aspirin arrival time or measure or ECG time, you can put those things on the dashboard here to view. So you have add find patients, reports, and library. I'm going to first show you library quickly, and this is the same link. So you have resources library down here and library here on the community page. I recommend that however you open the library, you right-click, put in a new tab. If we just click on it, it will put it in this screen, but then the library, I think, is nice to have in a separate tab because if you refer back to it, and I'll show you a case of this, how that will work, but I like to open the library in a new tab, and it pops over to a different tab. I'll have the page here, and I can click to the library here. In the library, you'll see the new data elements, a blank CRF, our instructions. This is a draft user's manual currently, but will be a user's manual, which unlike, I guess, similar to the coding instructions, but will give you some more insight on how to use the tool and how to use, especially in the reports, just some tips and tricks, I guess. And then the testing guide will not be there. A thing to note is the notifications tab. So when there is a new notification that as an abstractor you need to know, you can click on that. and 315, the most recent one I have not read, is still in red. So I have not looked at this notification. The user's manual is added. I did look at this one on 326, so it's no longer red. Operational reports now available for testing. So you can see this notification tab is a new option that we've added. And if we look at it then, it should go away. Not it. And go back to the community page. It's not clean, but okay. So let's get into how entering a patient first. Again, I have two tabs open, so I might just go ahead and pop my library back in here and go back to this community page. Again, I have the community page and then the library here. I can find patients, and you can add a new patient by starting here with the patient ID and then add new, or you can find a patient or use an advanced search. If you search within a particular date range, find any of the patients that have been entered. Arrow that down from complete to incomplete as well. You can see down here we have the patient list. So here are all the patients, and these can be sorted by discharge date, mode of arrival, EMS agency, and so on. All of these are sortable columns. So as soon as you click on them, it sorts it up or down by that particular column. Of all of the patients are here, whether they are complete or incomplete, how they've been saved, and you can save patients as incomplete, and they will still fall within the reports. That's consistent from the PMT. They can be saved as incomplete and then still be run in the measures reports. If we were going to add a new patient, I'll quickly run through kind of what adding a new patient looks like. Add a new patient. The first thing for is the discharge date. This is based on the need to make sure that the most up-to-date or current form based on the discharge of the patient is loaded for you. Now we realize that this may cause a little bit of an issue trying to do the entry patient while the patient is still in your hospital. So we're looking at the possibilities of some workarounds here. But as it starts, you'll have to start with the discharge date. And again, looking at some workarounds here. If in any of these fields where you see the date, if you only have the date, you can select just the date without the hours and minutes. So let's say the discharge was today. And that's your patient. And the P, you will only see the fields that you need. So you will not see everything. It changes the length or the number of data points based on weighing in. Makes it a little cleaner going through the data. You'll also see with the PMT you had the tabs at the top. Now with RP you have the sections over at the side, and as you complete a section, you'll see those change. So the patient is male. 42 is not a day. This will not be the only demonstration of IRP, believe me, but I wanted to give everyone a taste of it. The first example of how the form changes based on what you put in. So if we put this in as white, nothing changes, and we can move on. But if we were to something other than white, for instance, Asian, then it gives us some additional choices that we can make. So that's an example of how the form expands based on what information you're putting in. Now we save here and save as incomplete, or move on to the next tab. We go into admin. Much more on the patient physician pickers in IRP. So in the form management section, which I don't know that we'll get to today, but you can put in all of your physicians and their ID numbers and have those in the pickers so that you can run reports based on those. So this is the attending physician, The arrival date of the patient, let's say the arrival was 2 days ago, so 04/1, 2018 at 1500. So admission date. The admission date typically is the same, but occasionally we will see patients that held observation for a certain time, so maybe not technically admitted and then admitted later. So sometimes this can be a different day, especially when it's late at night or early morning, however your perspective is. This patient transferred, let's say this was a direct, so we will make that for evaluated in the ED, and now you can see that it's added. So this is the ED time. If we were to select cath lab, we would get the ED times. Again, the form changes based on what information you're putting in. So the date or time transferred out of the ED. So again, we are going with the admit time. So the admit day was 4/1, so we'll go 4/1/2018, and let's see. Let's say they spent in the ED, so 15/20. The physician. Now again, another physician picker here. And diagnosis, again, this is something you're used to seeing, but confirm the AMI. You can see that that goes to black, which means we are completed with that tab. Pre-hospital and arrival. So how did this patient come? By ambulance. And again, that changes. If we were to walk in, then that part would not pop up. I think this is nice for an abstractor to be able to go through the field or the form fairly quickly and not have to click through fields that they don't need. So that's why we really like this. The form changes as you work through it. EMS agency picker, which for most everyone now in our affiliate, actually we just got the last state information. All of this should be preloaded now with the state's ID number, how your state identifies that particular EMS agency, whether it be with their license number or a separate NEMSIS number, either one, will be preloaded now in IRP, and to a certain extent for most states in the PT now. Number, if you want to add it, we won't run it. Same, or cardiac arrest prior to arrival on this patient, no. If we were to select yes, we get some additional information. Print tracker, so this is a nice option that if everything happened on the same date, we can just go ahead and pre-fill this. And then all it wants us to do is add time. So first medical contact, our patient arrived at 1500. So let's say that it was 1430. There was no non-EMS first medical contacts. We'll just quickly go through and keep that. There was no EMS reason for delay. Dispatch, let's say, was at 1400. Arrived on scene at 1410. Scene at 18. Arrival admission was at 14:19. Our times are probably looking a little silly, but I think we're still on track. Method of first notification, ECG transmission. Transfer to another facility, no. First ECG time was, excuse me, 04/2018 at 14:17. Arrival, no non-system reason for delay for ECG. It was noted as a STEMI. Who was a STEMI? Was it noted on the first ECG or subsequent? Let's say it's the first. Symptom or on to arrival. Symptom onset was, just say we don't know the exact time, but it was on this date, so 04/01/2018. Date admitted on first medical contact. Now, some of these additional fields that you'll be seeing here: heart rate, heart failure documented, cryogenic shock documented, history of smoking, history of peripheral artery disease. These items are necessary for calculation of mortality. So in our, we won't have the mortality calculations rolled out in this version, but in June or July when we roll out the summer update, you see the calculations for risk-adjusted mortality. So some of these fields are necessary to properly calculate risk-adjusted mortality. Great. 55. Heart failure documented on first medical contact. No. Cardiogenic shock. No. Medications. If you get creatinine, aspirin, within 24 hours, yes. Yes to biomarkers, yes to smoking, and no to peripheral artery disease. One thing to mention here, and we have checked and double-checked this, and this is the same as action, that history of peripheral artery disease, yes or no. If you do not know, the proper answer is no, and we have double-checked that that is the proper way to document that. So rather than having an unknown, if you do not know, you mark it as no. You'll see blue. Now we're done with this form, but it is blue rather than black. So if it's blue, that means we need to go and see what our notices are. So blue notices are just reminders, and this is similar to what we have in the PMT now. It's just reminding us that you've left a reporting measure blank, which is non-EMS first medical contact, and and that may not be in all scenarios, but we want to make sure that you're recording this properly, so we'll just put a little notice on there. If it was something that's critical, it would show up red. So if I take out, we'll do a red one in the next screen, or yellow ones. Yeah, see, we've not got to the next page yet, so these are all on the next page, so they show up yellow, and these are required, so they would be considered errors. Haven't got to them yet. Blues are sort of notices for you to take note of to make sure, and yellow is some that needs to be corrected. If you click on these, it will take you to that particular section. So if we click on discharge status, it will actually take us right to that screen so we can make a correction. But where we were at, we are at the bottom of pre-hospital arrival. You can save as complete. If these blue arrows show up, you can still save as complete. You cannot save as complete with anything in yellow. Hospitalization, was this patient a reperfusion candidate? Yes. No combat thrombus. Reason not administering, because the patient was going to PCI. PCS. Interventionalists, so now we can also add, there's no physicians in here, but you have the interventional cardiologist and their national provider number as well that can be added. So now we're up to 3 total physician pickers within the new platform. Again, a PCI time tracker, we can set all active dates, allows us to quickly fill that out. Into cath lab activation was prior to arrival, so let's say 1420. Patient at cath lab, let's see, 1510. Attending at the cath lab was 1502. Cath lab team arrival, 1502. First guy, time was 1530. PCI indication, PCI for STEMI, non-system reason for delay. If you have any, we did not. Hospitalization, so LV assessment percentage obtained at this CAD, no. LDL cholesterol and LDL not documented. Let's go ahead and check that. And now, so we know we're at that field. Now move over to discharge date and time, which we already had in there. Discharge status to home, comfort measures only, no. Refer to cardiac rehab, let's hope so. Yes, they had smoking cessation. ARB, yes, yes. Aspirin, yes. Let's say no and not contraindicated. Prasugrel, no and not contraindicated. Yes, we did give ticagrelor. And let's go ahead and continue down. No. And as now it's black, we are complete. Once you finish that, it allows you to then go into any custom fields that you might have added. So we can go into custom fields, which also exist here in form management. We have put in this fictitious patient some custom fields here. So ER pod number, doc of the day, admission wait time, special physician, and all of those choices that you can add in yourself. There is technically a fairly unlimited number of these custom fields, more than you'll ever need. You can put anything in here you want. And then once you're done with the record itself, then those custom fields can be accessed. So that's a very quick and down and dirty. If you've used the PMT, you can probably see a lot of the similarities, but there are some obvious differences too. We think this is a little cleaner, but there are some things that will still be worked on and things brought back from the PMT that you'll see in IRP as we continue to evolve it. Again, one of the things that we currently do not have, and we've specifically as field staff asked for it back, is the shortcuts back to the library for any of these areas. So in the PMT currently, if you clicked on hospitalization, it would take you into the instructions under hospitalization. We do have those shortcuts currently built in, but we've asked for those to come back because we really like that feature, and we know that users did as well. So that's why I recommend that you keep the library tab open in a second tab so that you can go back and quickly open the coding instructions and refer back to any of those for any of your questions. There to see if there are any questions before I move into reports. I think operational reports, what I've shown so far is probably pretty typical of what you would expect, just updated and kind of some different ways to do things, some new data measures. I really want to show you some of the reporting stuff, but I'll pause and see if there's any questions.
Sorry, this is Erica in Minot, North Dakota. When you go to start patient and you have that like patient identifier number that you're assigning to the patient, I know one of the previous sessions, the number was put in there. Is there something that you suggest there? Because before we were making up a number and just keeping track of it on a spreadsheet log. Do you guys care how we do that?
I think the way you've just described it there is the perfect way to answer that question. And not to say that I don't care, but I think that whatever way you feel is the best way to track those patients, you know, the NRN number would typically be considered, I think, protected health information. That's why we, for instance, when you brought your data over from Action to Action Registry over to Get With The Guidelines CAD, we ask that you delete that number. So if you choose to use that number, great, and know that that's the number. So we don't really make a recommendation there either way, but whatever's easiest, I think, is the best recommendation for us to make. Whatever you choose to use for your patient number, whatever is easiest for you to track and remember.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, that patient now. So now I want to go into reports and show you some of the operational reports. So just like in CAD now, you have the measures report and the data download report. You'll see some more reports in here as regional reports become available and hospital level comparison reports become available and some other things. So we'll go into measures reports and show you a few cool things. To what you're used to as far as, you know, checking your dates, quarterly, monthly, aggregated data, your measures, your filters, benchmarks. It's all here like you would expect. So let's go monthly for 2018 quarter. Let's go. I think there's more data in 17. So let's go quarter 1 through 2017 quarter 4. Check all records. Let's look at now these measures right now. The groupings in this test site are not exactly where we want them. So if we were to pick achievement measures, you would think that that was just the Mission Lifeline achievement measures for your particular hospital. But there's some additional things in here. This technically is all the achievement measures for both both reading centers and referring centers. So you're seeing all the achievement measures. Okay. So what we can do is we can select them all, them individually. So let's look at some individual ones. So arrival to thrombolysis within 30 minutes, that's actually that's obviously a referring center. Arrival transfer out 45 minutes, that's referring center. So you can see if you were a referring hospital using CAD, those would be some of the ones that you would be looking at. But let's look at some of our top ones here. Mission Lifeline, First Medical Contact, Primary PCI, less center, 90 minutes, or under 120 minutes when transport time is prolonged. So you can see that is already defined differently in that measure. Overall receiving center score, primary PCI within 90, and let's leave it at that for now. You can also have chest pain measures in here for those hospitals that are chest pain hospitals. Measures, quality measures, which are a little bit different group. Just that one at this point, your plus measure. We have additional reporting measures, so ECG within 10 minutes of arrival at receiving center. Let's go ahead and add that one as well. That's one that currently everyone has been looking for. ED length of stay or dwell time. You can see we added a lot more of these measures in here. And then this will be cleaned up later to be just for receiving center measures and referring measures. So hopefully this time you see this, or when you see it live, this is a little cleaner. Again, this is the test environment. Okay, we're going to go with my hospitals and all hospitals in my state. And let's go ahead and just add another filter in here so I can show you how that works. Let's go just easy. Go ahead and run this report. Apply filters. Hopefully I didn't look too much. Now, first thing I want you to think about when you see these reports is this is no longer a platform that you run the report and put the report and show it to somebody. Think about this new reporting screen as that you will use to show the reports. This is now interactive and not static. You can see we've got the achievement measure, Mission Lifeline. There's 2 measures per screen as we scroll through these. So as we found, there'll be 2 measures per screen. Go to Mission Lifeline, First Medical Contact, primary PCI less than or equal to 90 minutes, or when transport is greater, when prolonged time. We've got compared to the state. We've got this divided out by comparisons. If we click on the comparisons, then it does choose that to the different comparisons. And that correspondingly changes down here. So you can see that First Medical Contact less than or equal to primary PI. And if we go down a bit more. But the part about being able to use this a little bit more actively is if we, and see this is done by quarter as well. So you see that quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3. So comparing my hospital to state 2 in this particular measure, my hospital to the state quarter 3, and so on. But if we want to drill down into any of this, all we have to do is, let's look here because we have a fallout here. So this is primary PCI less than or equal to 90 minutes, quarter 1. If we click on that, it pulls up just that particular quarter and just that measure. So now down here, we only have that. We know we have a total of 4 patients, 3 in the numerator, 4 in the denominator, so there's no exceptions. Just this measure. Now, I wonder what our fallout is. Click on the patients, then it brings up the patient list, and we can see exactly who the fallout was. Fallout was this patient right here. In the denominator, not in the numerator, and there's an exception. So we can get a little bit of information from this patient just by scrolling over, or if we want to go ahead and open that patient up, and I recommend right-clicking. Oh, excuse me. In this on the reports, you don't have to do that. You can just click and it opens it in a new tab so that report list is still active. Go back and write to that patient that has the outlier and go through and find wherever that problem was with that patient, verify that it's a fallout or that there is any data that needs to be changed. So let's go back to the report list. And what was the issue with this patient? This was primary PCI less than or equal to 90 minutes. So the arrival time was 3:25 and the PCI time was 5:59. So that is greater than 90 minutes. Let's go ahead and change that. Say that the patient had PI at a different time, so this falls in. So if we went to 4:45 should get us in there. So go back to that patient and PCI time. This is probably going to mess up other fields, but we'll correct those. Okay, to do that, so we'll go ahead and save. Now to our report list, we'll put this up and rerun the report. Parameters. And now measure should be at 100%. Goes down here. Was where? Oh, why not save? Well, good. Complete. Go. Probably messed this up. Test environments, so there are little quirks sometimes that for some of these measures aren't working out. In the test environment, that'll happen. In the real world environment, it should not. It still hasn't changed. We'll have to go back and figure out why that one's not updating. But what you would typically see then is that patient would go ahead and that would update, and you would see this as 4 for 4. So that's a test environment issue, not an issue with how it works, because that is how it should work. So, but again, I want to be able to show you how interactive the process is, where you can click on different graphs and see the actual patients and measures individually as you click through. So as we click and change these, we can see different patient groups down here. Clicking on that gives us the full list of those patients so that we can look at the data, but also click into the patient. Again, the comparison values are interactive, so if we change this to gender, it gives us the breakdown based on gender. So, for this particular measure, 2017 quarter 4, this is state. Obviously, we wouldn't have gender breakdown because we don't have that granular level data available for a comparison. But we can see for our hospital that 23% were female and 93% were male. Nice being able to switch your comparison back and forth. Option to do that. You can change graph similar measures like you could in GWTG CAD, so it stacks them up a little nicer. You go your 75th percentile lines, 50th percentile lines, so how you compare to the 50th and 75th and 90th percentile across the nation. So interaction there. If you only want to see your hospital, you don't have to rerun the report. You can just click off state, and it only shows your report. Again, very much more of an interactive reporting rather than just showing a static report. You can also change which measures we're looking at. So these are the measures that we have currently displayed. And if we only want to look at one of those, we can just click off those without running and boil it down to just that particular measure. And if we're back, or just one of them back, we can. I think once you get used to how this runs and how this works, this becomes a much more usable tool rather than just running reports and sharing them. This becomes the way you present data to your your cath lab teams, your overall hospital teams, your EMS agencies, because then, of course, you can run this by EMS agency and display this graph and show them based on their patients what's happening with the patients they bring. That's just a taste. See that these cuts that we were seeing before are over there, but they just kind of fall away into little smaller ones. Visual ease in being able to use the reporting. You can right-click on particular measures and export those. I recommend exporting as a visualization image. And then use that wherever you want. You can copy it. It's saved as a picture. You can and export to a PDF if you wanted to actually go ahead and make it a PDF and then print it. So you can do as well. You know, show paper size and orientation and all of that. So different ways to export. You can also export down here. So a group of patients, export to table. So obviously wanting to be able to take that over to Excel. You can share. You can copy the cell value. You can export to, in some of these, ones, directly to a PowerPoint slide. Well, PowerPoint won't show up, so these only exports in certain ways. But then you don't have to do it individually. You can also export the entire piece as well. Here we go, Microsoft PowerPoint. This will show everything on the screen, and that right into, gives you some options to change your filters, and that populates it right into PowerPoint. Which, if you saw my screen, a PowerPoint slide popped up. Here we go. I'm just going to show my screen or not because of the way I'm sharing. And into a measures report PowerPoint slide, just like that. There, we got about 10 minutes left. I want to make sure that there's time for questions, and if we have any additional time, we can talk through some of the other important items of data transfer and cleaning up data. But this is a lot of information. There's more to share. Obviously, there's the form management, there's upload. There'll be new things on library, some new things on community page. But I wanted to give you a taste of what it's looking like. You can also, obviously, for some of you, have more than one hospital that you're doing some abstraction for, so easy to switch to the other hospital. If we wanted to choose our hospital, we can do that. So this is the one we're currently on, and we can just switch right to our other hospital right there. So that's left. Any questions on this updated platform? I think it's got a lot of nice features, and as we continue to refine this, we'll continue to do these trainings and show you some of the nice features of it.
This is Brandy Ellison in Bismarck, North Dakota, and I just have a couple questions. The first one was we had been told that there would be an option for feedback reports to automatically generate out of here with the update. Is that still true? And if so, where do we find those? And the second one is as far as the different graphs and look at fallouts for different measures, are we able to do that for any field that we enter? So beta blockers, regardless of whether they're a metric or not for award status, or is it just specific for those award status measures?
So the feedback form, I still have to get some follow-up on that. I'm not sure if the feedback form is going to be available in this version or if it's going to be available in the summer version. I think there's still some crunching to try to get the new platform out, and hopefully the feedback form will be available once fully baked at the end of this month. But if it doesn't become available, it will be available in the summer. So our summer update of June or July is what I'm being told now. And I'm not sure where that will pop up when the dashboard or within another part of the. My guess is that it will show up somewhere in the reporting. So somewhere on operational reports, it will be in here somewhere, the feedback report. Let's see if there's any clues to. Yeah. Again, things aren't displaying like they will in the final option here, but I believe they will be in operational reports and feedback reports somewhere in here. And I hope that they are out at the end of this month, but if they don't show up, if they're not complete, then they'll be out in the sometime update. Another question about some of the reports and what you'll, and again, the grouping of the measures will change. You were looking for beta blocker, for instance, and I think that is one of these reports. All will look a little bit differently, and as things evolve. I think I saw beta blocker discharge.
Higher.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So that's what you were looking for, is beta blocker discharge. And then what was the second part of your question on how you could run that?
I just was wondering if there were options to run them, even if they're not considered one of the Get With the Guides award status measures.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll see us add more and more of those, actually. So another good example is in the ECG within 10 minutes of arrival. Currently, that's a receiving center measure, but we want to be able to also have referring center measure. We'll be able to have receiving centers run that as well. And currently in Get With the Guidelines CAD, it showed up as a referring measure, but technically it is the receiving measure. So again, we've kind of made some clarifications on that and given you some additional items to run that, like you say, are not achievement measures.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions? Do more of these demonstrations. I think once the actual platform is rolled out and the final update is made, some of the little quirks that showed up today will be better refined. I know that there was, basically they're updating this demo site daily with things they find. So, you know, it might work right this morning, and something they change might change something else doesn't work this afternoon. So a lot of testing going on, and when it's rolled out, we hope that, you know, the majority of the bugs, and especially the big ones, are taken care of. But you know, as we continue to evolve the platform, we'll continue to do these transitions.
Kathy Dodge.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I missed this, but is there a date for the rollout or when it will be available?
Sure, back to that real quick. Oops. So everyone, so the release date is the 23rd. That could change. I want to make sure that everyone understands that our current release date of the updated platform is the 23rd, but with software, things can change. That's what we are currently at. And remember that from April 16th, so the CAD, the current patient management tool, will shut off after the 15th, and you will have no access to either the PMT or IRP, the new platform, for Dark Week, 16th through the 22nd, and then the new platform will launch officially on the 23rd. Question back there waiting, maybe.
Yeah, Katie. I have a question about the case list. You can sort it in the PMT directly within your list without exporting it first. Can you do that?
Sure.
Those that wait to do their data cleanup in the IRP, sorting out NSTEMI data is most beneficial in the PMT. Is that an option?
That up. It's very flexible within, so let's see what the sorting options look like within the patient list. I don't know if right. Yeah, it's one that only has one patient, so that didn't help us, did it? Answering the question, Katie, because I think I've tried that yet.
Or to display formats on the left side where it says bar chart, if you change it there, can you just view it there?
I'm not sure. I'm not. Oh, over here.
Your screen was frozen, Gary, I think.
Oh, I was like, yeah. Back, show the graph again.
I was like, yeah, he's really frozen. Yeah, he's.
Am I unfrozen now?
Yeah, you're moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Up to the left here, where it says display. Yeah. Oh.
No, it's different now. So you're used to seeing the option for patient grid, and that is not because of the always case list open. That's no longer an option, or it doesn't display that way. So we'll go back here and pick another measure that has more than one patient in it. So no. Yeah, that one. But I want to make sure there's no others that are. No. Oh, yeah, that was my problem. Go back here. Okay. So we got 4 patients here. Let's go to this one. So we sort just like that. We sort wherever we have any of these columns we can sort. So if we go numerator, and the angle shows up to wherever it's sorted. In this area, you can change the height of these. If you want to see some more, you can move these up and down a little bit to see some additional areas that way as well. Sorting is available in these columns. Up to total patients, except where there's a column like that, string is available. Any other? Okay, everyone, sounds like the transition from move data with the historic data upload from registry over to Get With The Guidelines CAD is working for a lot of hospitals. I've had a few hospitals that have done it with zero help from their side directors, which is great. Not necessary. You always reach out if you need any assistance with the process. Katie, who is the QSI director in Iowa, is kind of the go-to person we have right now, helping hospitals all over our affiliate get the historic data upload. But just so you know, it's not so hard that you can't do it yourself, because I do have a few hospitals that have successfully done the upload with zero help from us. So that's good as well. Your QI directors will be looking at your data intently now, looking at where you fall in for 2017 awards, coming back to you and asking you to clean up data, making sure that you have any questions about cleaning up particularly those NSTEMI issues that occur when it comes over. By the way, if you any hospital does that issue should be taken care of after the IRP platform. So if for whatever reason a historic data upload or an upload in general is done after the IRP platform, those 2 particular issues, the platelet therapy and LV at discharge, left ventricular, discharge. Those 2 things are taken care of after the IRP update, so that won't be a continued issue. But your QSI directors are working through your reports, and we'll work with you if they see any data that needs to be corrected. We are all manually entering your award data to ensure that you get your awards. So work with your local QSI director, and again, they'll be reaching out to you with any questions or any thing that needs to be cleaned up. And we are at an hour, so Katie and I will hang on if there's any further questions, but that is the end of today's presentation. Our next CAD users call will be the 1st of May. The first Tuesday in the month is May 1st, so we look forward to having you all back then.